Good morning, everyone. Okay, we enabled the waiting room so that anyone joining us after 8 o'clock will be able to just jump in. Good morning, welcome. For those of you that signed up on or before June 30th, we hope that you received your coffee gift card and that you're enjoying coffee this morning. I unfortunately wasn't able to make some, so I'm just gonna have to be woken by John's amazing presentation. I'm Diane Michael. I'm the education coordinator for R&R Industries. We're going to jump right in here. Thank you so much for being here this morning. The approved course title is Disaster Preparedness Before, During, and After. The category is Finance and ELE. The course number is CRS 7618. You received 2 CEUs after completion, and the approved presenter from the DBPR is John Carr. We will be done at 9 a.m. sharp. If you have any questions during, please go ahead and shoot them into the comment box. After completion of this hour, please email education@rrifl.com with your CAM license number and your name as it appears on your license. Please make sure that it's the name that appears on your license. We will email you a certificate of completion within the week. Also, be sure to check back with the DBPR within a month to make sure your credits appear. DBPR is taking a little bit longer than usual, so definitely be looking for that, but you'll have the certificate from us showing completion within a week. Please wait until the program is over to email education@rrifl.com so that we can count you as being present today. And I'm going to put that into the chat after we get started so you can all see that. And finally, by being involved in this platform, you are authorizing permission for this to be videotaped and uploaded to our website and used in marketing materials. Additionally, no reproduction or use of this video may be made without prior written consent. Okay, let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce you to our presenter this morning, my friend John Carr with R&R Industries. R&R is in their 75th year in business and believes strongly in education and CAM training. John also understands the value in working with community association managers and is a strong resource for all things roofing and restoration. He has developed hundreds of millions of dollars in claims, and he's also a public adjuster, and he is your CEU presenter this morning. Let's welcome John.
All right. Thank you, Diane. Can everybody hear me? I think I'm, yes? All right. Perfect. Well, welcome, everyone. Appreciate you all being here this wonderfully hot morning already, and looking forward to getting through this. And you know, it is always exciting for me to help people. One of the things I love to do is help people. I've always been that way, and educating people on how to be prepared for storm season is one of my passions. So I'm looking forward to going through this today and helping you get some CEs at the same time. So a little bit about R&R Industries. If you're not aware of R&R Industries, they've been around in Volusia County since 1948, serving Florida, pretty much rebuilding Florida businesses for a long time. Same building since 1948. If you walk this building, you would know. We'll have some announcements coming soon on actually our 75th anniversary party that we're going to be having. Very excited about that. You'll be able to come here and check us out and see the building and have some food. And we're pretty excited about our 75th celebration. These are some of the things that we do here at R&R Industries. We do cover pretty much the entire state of Florida. But that's just a little bit about us here at R&R. I'm going to move right along though, because I think the most important thing is let's take a look back at 2022, what had happened. This is what we're going to cover a little bit today. And then are we ready for 2023 and what's going to be happening? So 2022 was, you know, an interesting season, in my opinion. There was a lot of things that had happened that we sort of weren't prepared for, especially in the Central Florida area. So this is what happened. There was 14. This was the projection was 14 to 21 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and then there was projected 3 to 6 hurricanes, major hurricanes. And then what had happened was there was 14 named storms, right? There was 8 hurricanes. So you were right in there, right where they were forecasted. And then 2 major hurricanes. So there was a little less than what was forecasted. So they were sort of right in there, but they with the forecasted, with the exception of the major hurricanes, which I thought was a little interesting. Usually they're right on target with that kind of stuff. If you look here, this is one of the buildings that was affected during Hurricane Ian right here in Volusia County. Flooding. So one of the things that had happened for 2022 with Hurricane Ian and Nicole was flooding. So when we take a look back at this, many people were not ready for flood. By the way, these two photos that you see here are not in a flood zone. So, people talk about, why do I need flood insurance? Why is it important to have flood insurance? I can't believe Citizens is making me have flood insurance. Well, I think part of the reason is that this was not in a flood zone. So when you take a look at that, there's some of the things that we found out was that floods, here's how I look at it. If you're in Florida, you're in a flood zone. Again, a few more of those pictures. Same. This is actually a lake. This is a lake that crest right over, and this is the street. So I am taking this picture outside of my car as I'm driving, and that's the side of a road right there that you can see, and you can't even tell where the road ends. So pretty dangerous area there. And then more wind. That's right on the picture to the right. There is a picture of the building that the roof completely blew off. And I was going to give a little comment about that roof there. That roof should have been replaced after Hurricane Matthew, and I'm not sure if it was or not. Here's the other thing. I don't know if anybody recognizes this, however, but one of the biggest things that was a little bit of a shocker to a lot of people was the beach erosion that had occurred. I think there was some warnings right after Hurricane Ian, but one of the other things was the beach erosion that had happened there. There was a lot of people that were not prepared for that as well. So there was a lot of beach erosion that went on the east coast of Florida. As many of you know, there's another picture of that piece there. And let's take a look at what had happened. This was 2022. If anybody, it's so hard doing this when you're not live. I love doing this live, but the Zoom is a little easier for us. But I always like to ask the question, does anybody know what this looks like, right? Does this look familiar to anybody, from way back when? Well, this sure does look like 04 and 05 when Francis and Jean and all these other storms were coming through. So this is very familiar. This was very similar. So if you look at what was going on, we had several storms that came across our state in 2022 last year. So we were a little bit busy going through the year. So this was what it looked like last year. We had a lot of activity going on. And these were the names that we went through. And that was pretty much it. So I just want to do a quick recap of 2022. What did we learn? I'm going to go into some more detail as we go through the presentation of some of the things we learned as we go through the presentation of how we want to be prepared for 2023. So what's our forecast? What does it look like? Where are we going? So the forecasted outlook, what I find very interesting this year, I don't think any of the meteorologists and the experts are 100% sure of what's going on. If you notice, they're all kind of seem to be changing their mind, right? So I track and follow all the websites and try to listen to everybody, whether it's Colorado State University and the National Hurricane Center, Mike's weather page, everybody, right? Everybody seems to be all over the place, but this was the latest one that came out. There was going to be 14 to 18 named storms, 7 to 9 hurricanes, 2 to 4 major hurricanes. That's the latest forecast that was coming out. And they're still not sure. They're talking about changing it, like because of the Saharan dust, the heat in the water, the surface temperature of the water. So, I don't think they really know. Well, actually, I want to go back. One more, see if I could go back a slide. I think the key here is hurricanes, 7 to 9, And then the major hurricanes, 2 to 4. The name storms doesn't mean anything to me, right? Meaning we have a named storm right now, tropical storm, or it might even, it's tropical storm Dawn that's out there, which doesn't really mean anything to us. It's a fish storm. It's not going to affect the United States any, but it's a named storm. So, okay, you can have 25 named storms. You can have 7 hurricanes, but are they going to affect the United States and or affect land, right? We don't want anybody to get hurt. The bottom line is, when you look at the hurricanes and the major hurricanes, what is that going to look like, and how are we going to be prepared for those, and are they going to affect the United States and essentially affect our area? Are they going to affect Florida? Well, I'm not sure if they know what's going on with these weather patterns. We had that at first. They were talking about, the wind shear that was coming off. Then they were saying that there was no wind shear, that these storms are going to brew. Then the next week they were talking about the Saharan dust. I don't think they know what's happening, and they're just doing their best guess to figure out where it's going to happen with these weather patterns, because they're changing every week. So what I can tell you is we just need to stay tuned, watch the weather reports as close as possible, because I think it's going to change on a regular basis. I just think the forecast is the forecast, and don't rely too much on what the forecast is going to be. You need to watch the TV on a regular basis. All right, so here's our hurricane hazard: extreme wind, storm surge, inland flooding, tornadoes, and post-storm injuries. Again, if we were live, I would be asking everybody, what is the number one injury, right? What is the most thing that people are injured or hurt from, or even killed from in a storm? I would ask people, what would they know? It's so hard doing this on Zoom, but I will tell you what it is. It's flooding. I don't know if you were watching NBC Nightly News. Shoot, I just gave a shout out to NBC. I wasn't supposed to. But the news the other night, they were talking about, there was some people that were missing, and it was truly from a flash flood, right? A flood just came out of nowhere. And bam, this family was pretty much gone. Their car was just taken, and they're still searching. I think they're still searching for them. Flooding is very serious, and people don't take it serious enough. Be careful with flooding. So on all your properties, assume that you're in a flood zone. I always say that over and over again. If you're in Florida, you're in a flood zone, but also keep in mind of flash flooding. It is very dangerous. And we'll get into that a little bit as we continue. We go through the hazard piece here. All right, so be ready before a storm strikes. So what are some of the things that we can do to be ready? So know your risk. Find out if you're in a flood zone. Make sure to know your evacuation plans and routes, right? So one of the things that we want to talk about with that is that, like I keep saying about the flood piece, and I promise this isn't a flood presentation. This is about being ready. But if you're in a flood zone, right, you are considered in that flood zone piece, make sure you have all the proper procedures ready to go, know what the evacuation plan is, and be ready to go. I know that a lot of people wait to the last minute. There's a lot of people that live in the Keys that say, I'm staying. Don't recommend it. We've had clients of ours that have, during Hurricane Irma, they stayed back on Marco Island. Don't recommend it. If you're in an evacuation zone, make your plan to get out, know what the plan is, and also timing. Make sure that your property knows what the timing is to get out, because you're going to get stuck in traffic and those kind of things. So just make sure what your risk is, and if you're going to get out of that flood zone. The big one is your insurance policy review and checkup. So you want to make sure that you either have my opinion is you have a third party. If you have an insurance agent that like, and trust, you've been with, and you really like them, that's fantastic. We have some great insurance agents out there. I like having what they call first party attorneys go out so first party attorneys are attorneys that work for the insureds, and they work with insurance, meaning you work with the condo associations, and they work with the insureds. So they don't work for the insurance company; they work for us. And what they basically will make sure that you have proper coverages. So I like to get a third party. I always recommend boards and condo associations get a third party, review that policy. Now, if you have a relationship with your agents and you trust them, there's some really good agents out there, so I'm not discounting that by any means. But make sure you do an annual review of the policy, and make sure that you have the proper coverages. Some of the things that we've seen, this is where I'm going to go back and forth a little bit today on look back on 2022. What did we see? And then 2023, what do we want to make sure that you have the proper coverages on? So some of the things that we did see in 2022 was that there was a lot of insurance policies that did not have proper coverages, meaning that their valuation of the property may not have been proper. So it was really hard for the insureds to get proper coverage on their buildings. For example, the insurance policy may have had a $20 million policy limit, but the building may have had a valuation of 30 million. So it's real important that you look at what the coverages are and what the real building value is. And I'm just giving wide open examples of that. It's very important to make sure that you have the proper coverage for your buildings. The other things that we did see a lot this year was there was two items that we didn't see and previously that we saw a lot of. Number one was there was a per event deductible rather than a calendar year deductible. So in the past, almost all the insurance policies we've seen was a per year deductible. So if there was 2 hurricanes, there was 1 deductible. Hurricane Ian and Nicole, most of the time there would have been 1 deductible per calendar year. Well, most all the policies we had seen, actually all the policies we had seen that we had worked with our clients here at R&R, and we worked with agents and attorneys and public adjusters, all of them had 2 deductibles. And in the past, there was only 1 deductible. So they had changed that to where the policies were written that there was actually a per event deductible, not a calendar year deductible. I was told by some agents that was because those were the only policies they could get. So that's great, but just make sure, well, it's not great, but that's okay. But you need to just make sure that your boards and condo association and your clients are aware of that, because that was a big deal, because you're talking $1 million deductible. And if they have 2 claims, they need to be aware that that's a $2 million deductible or $100,000 deductible, whatever it may be. So those were some of the things that we had saw in 2022 that we had not seen as much before. It was very rare that we had saw per calendar year deductible. There was a lot more exclusions as well. So you want to make sure when you're doing your policy review, look for exclusions. Exclusions meaning, was there any ordinance and law coverage? So was there any upgrade coverage for the ordinance and law coverage, meaning was there electrical upgrades, things like that? So was there ordinance and law coverage exclusions? Also other structures. We've seen that there was a lot of other structures that were not covered, pool houses, things like that. So just keep in mind, have a third party if needed. Again, there's some really great agents here locally in Volusia County that you just make sure that they do a really good deep dive checkup of your client's insurance policy to look at exclusions, look at deductibles, look at valuation. What are your coverages? What do you have? Make sure that your clients are very aware of what coverages they have. More importantly, what coverages they don't have. Make sure that they are aware of their deductible. What is that deductible? And is it per calendar event, or is it, is it per calendar year, or is it per event? Those are 2 very important items on that deductible piece. What is it? And then how is that applied? Pre-storm property assessment, very important. that you do a pre-storm property assessment. Basically, what this means is that you have somebody, we offer them here at no charge to people that attend these seminars, that you have somebody that's trained on how to go out and do a property assessment to be prepared prior to storm season. So what this means is we go out and take an assessment of the property to show what that property looks like prior to the storm season. So it can be done anywhere between really May, June to before the storm hits, right? Now, I would not suggest calling, hey, we're in the cone. Can you come do a property assessment for me real quick? Probably not, because we're going to be trying to make sure that our properties are all taken care of and, our current clients are squared away. But I strongly encourage you to go get a pre-storm property assessment. We're going to go out, or companies will go out and make sure that you have all the proper documentation so that when after a storm hits, you have a packet that you can provide to the insurance company to say, hey, this is what the property looked like prior to the storm, and so that there's no discussion as to what was pre-existing and what was not pre-existing. Flood zones and how they impact you, I think we covered that quite a bit. I think, again, the importance of that, knowing which zone you're in. I think I've stressed that enough already today. Just make sure that, if you're in Florida, you are in a flood zone. Developing an association emergency plan, possibly an emergency coordinator. I'm a firm believer in, that you can't plan too much when it comes to, especially a hurricane. Now, it doesn't just have to be a hurricane. I think, we have microbursts, we have tornadoes, we have all these different types of emergency events that happen. We have a fire, right? So we have lightning, lightning strikes that can happen on a building. So my suggestion is that you put together an emergency plan, and specifically for a hurricane, that says, okay, if a hurricane hits, this is what we're going to do. This person is in charge of coordinating, what's going to happen when a storm hits. So meaning, what contractors are we going to have ready to go? Who are we going to have, handle all of our roofing issues? Who are we going to have handle our landscaping? So you have this person that has a coordinating all these things in place that reports back to the board. Who's going to make sure the property's secure? Who's going to be checking it? Especially if you have these places that are right on the ocean or on the Gulf, or even on the intercoastal waterway on the river, where if you're in that evacuation zone, who's going to be able to go in, check on the property, and report back to the board? So develop an emergency plan, have an emergency coordinator, and have that person coordinate everything for you and for the board. In the past, I've seen it's been typically an officer of the board heads it up, and then has sometimes even non-board members work with them on the team to help them coordinate everything and to do it. If you have not lived through a true hurricane, a category 2, a category 3 hurricane destroy your building, and I mean it, destroy your building, where, just everything is torn up. You have sliders that are hanging out off the building. You have the roof tore off. You have trees everywhere. You have the tennis court fencing flying in the air. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's chaos. So the best thing you can do is try to control that chaos the best you can. Try to get an emergency coordinator that works with the property manager to help you with that piece, because the CAM and the property manager will coordinate it, but have someone from the board help you with that as well. Because there's certain things that need to get approved by them. The more pre-planning you have, the better it is during the disaster, because unfortunately, I've seen it if you're not pre-planning, you make decisions too fast, and sometimes you regret them later, right? And that's including with dealing with contractors, you know. Make sure you secure your property. And we're going to go into that a little bit, developing that emergency plan. So we're not finished with that, but I just kind of want to go over this and, you know, before a storm strikes, how we're going to do it. So secure your property, make sure everything is tightened up, any flying debris, what's happening, check everything on the roof, make sure everything is just secure. Then your pre-storm emergency repair contracts and or contacts. Life safety is the number one important thing, in my opinion, when it comes to preparing for your storm. Number two is your pre-storm emergency repair contracts and or contacts. Storm hits, I don't care where it is in Florida, because I've been in Panama City, everywhere in the state over the years. I've been on site, been in what we call ground zero right after a storm. And I've never seen so many contractors in my life from all over the country just swarming the area and unfortunately taking advantage of people that are in trouble, right? And it's not just the residential, it's a lot of residential people, but it's also the condo associations. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that come from out of state, and there's a lot of people that are in state that prey and take advantage of people that are in trouble, right? So please, 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 please do the best you can to have all your people in place prior to the storm hitting. Know who you want to use. And I always like to say, you can start from the top down, right? You have who's going to be your first go-to person for your roofing contractor. You know, would love for it to be R&R Industries, right? But, you know, there's a lot of roofing contractors out there, but make sure that you have your emergency roofing contractor in place. You know, we have a pre-storm emergency repair contract ready to go for you that we ask our boards to sign a pre-storm contract that gives us authorization up to a certain amount of dollars to spend pre-authorized. So you're not even wasting any time trying to get something authorized. You're there. Try to find out if people have that. You get priority on that, right? So you want to have that squared away, because guess what? You have a duty on your insurance claim to protect your property. So if the roof flies off or the roof is damaged, the first thing you need to do is repair that. Most contractors, most roofing contractors like ourselves, we can also do the GC and the BC work, meaning if you have windows blown in and things like that, which we've seen, you need to have that ready to go. You know, your mitigation companies, your window companies. So you want to find a contractor like us, and it doesn't have to be us. I'm just saying, you want to find a contractor that can help you through this process, that says, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to help you mitigate your property so that it prevents further damage, right? So you want to make sure that you have that ready to go before the storm hits, someone that you can call right away, right? Because you're going to have 10, 15, 20, 30 contractors banging on your door, sign here, sign here, sign here. You know, we'll pay your deductible. We don't, don't worry about this. You don't have to pay us anything. You're going to hear it all, right? Don't worry, we got you. You know, just be careful. Some of it may be true. Most of it's probably not. You know, you just want to be really careful. So be prepared as much as you can when it comes to those kind of contractors. So what you want to do is have that as much prepared. So you want to have a roofing contractor, a contractor / both, right? It's great if you can find a company like ours that kind of does a little bit of both. Plumbing contractor, landscaper, your elevator company, right? You want to make sure your elevator company is on standby. Make sure that you have a relationship with your elevator company, your electrician, your landscaper, right? You can't get into your building if you can't clear the way to get in there. And like I said, a contractor like us to make sure that the property is able to be secured. So make sure that you have those things in place. It's very important on the pre-storm emergency repair contracts and or contacts. Even if you don't have it signed, like even if you don't have that contract, make sure that you have people that you can call and say, hey, John, you know, and this is Ellen, I was on your conference call. I was on your Zoom meeting. I don't know if you remember me, but we have a property in Melbourne. We need your help. You know, make sure you have people that you can call when you're in crisis, that you hopefully you at least know just a little bit, that it's just not a cold call that you can be referred in, because unfortunately there's hundreds of contractors that come in that just take advantage of people. By the way, just because their truck is wrapped and looks beautiful with a 321 or a 561 or a 386 or wherever area you're in, does not mean they're a local company, right? You can easily get that truck wrapped within 24 hours with a local number through Google. So it's just a marketing thing. You want to really investigate and make sure that they're truly a Florida company, and how long they've been here. All right. Have all your supplies ready for 3 days prior to your storm. Listen, I go to Costco usually a couple times a month. I'm good now. I don't need any more supplies for hurricane season. And that's because I started in May, right? This past trip to Costco, I got my final case of water for my family, all my batteries, everything I have. I am good to go now. My kit's all ready. I started my generators this weekend. Everything is good. So, you know, start preparing, make sure you have supplies ready. It's kind of on a personal note for your own home, but for me, the only thing that I still have to prepare for is my go bag, right? So I have a go bag, meaning that I'm ready to go if a storm hits somewhere. I make sure my house is secure. I make sure my family is safe. And then I go help people that are like, are on this call here. I have to go protect your properties after I know my family is safe. That's the only thing left open. But now I know my family is going to be taken care of. But make sure you have all your supplies ready, you know, 3 days prior to that storm. The only thing I don't suggest you buying way in advance is gas, right? You don't want to buy your gas too far in advance, usually after 30 days. We used to be in the gas station business, so I don't like keeping fuel around for more than 30 days. But if I see a storm out there, I go ahead and put gas in my gas cans, and then I just throw them in my car if the storm fades away. But you know, you don't want to get stuck in those long lines. I'm usually not the guy that's stuck in those long lines, but run your generators, get everything squared away, make sure you have your supplies now. All right, during the storm, see here, stay informed, listen to the authorities, and make sure that you're aware of developing events. So stay informed, you know, have battery operated. I love those crank radios. Make sure you have those. Just make sure you're aware of what's going on. You know, there's so many people that they just don't stay aware. They don't listen. I can't stress that enough either. You know, just make sure that when the storm is coming, stay inside. So that's actually on the next slide here or on the next thing. But you just want to make sure that listen to the authorities. I stress that over and over and over again. Listen to the authorities. Stay indoors. Remember, during the eye of the storm, you might think the storm's over. I don't know how many of you were here for, you know, some previous storms. We had a client down in Marco Island during Hurricane Irma. And, you know, this was great for us for the insurance claim, but I don't know, the guy was crazy, but he went outside and he was filming his condo, and he's out there and he's filming and he's all excited. It was during the eye of the storm, and one of the bands came through while he's out there, and there was a wall that they had built after the storm, after the building was built, about 5 years after the building was built. That wall collapsed and came toward him. Now he moved and he ran, but you know, 74-year-old guy running backwards in flip-flops during a storm, wet grass. I mean, he's okay, And again, it was great for the insurance claim because it proved to the insurance company that it did fall during the storm, because they tried to say that it didn't, which did not make any sense to me. But the bottom line is that he was out there during the eye of the storm. First of all, he should have never been there. It was an evacuation zone. Number two, he was out there during the eye of the storm, thinking it was safe. He thought the storm was over, was never listening to the radio, didn't realize, he thought the storm was gone, and it wasn't. So just remember, be careful out there. It might seem safe. Listen to the authorities. Do not go on the road, unless you're told to. The other thing is that's very important, is that we will not go out on the road until the ambulances and the fire trucks are allowed to go on the road, right? So a lot of people say, they'll call me, man, the roof is ripped off. You need to get out here. And there's still 40 or 50 mile an hour winds out. And I'll tell them, sure, once I know the fire trucks and the ambulances are allowed on the road, I'll come out. Because if my guys get hurt while they're out there, I need to make sure that they're going to be taken to safety as well. So, just know that. We were speaking at an event with Sheriff Chitwood here in Volusia County last month, and we were talking about staying off the road. He asked us to repeat that several times, stay off the road during these storms. Please don't go out and sightsee. Man, stay home, stay safe, stay out of the way. We need to let the first responders do their job. Watch the TV. You'll see some video of the damage. There's nothing to see out. Well, there is something to see out there, but please let us do our job to get the properties mitigated and let the first responders do their job as well. Make sure you have battery operated flashlight, radios and flashlights. Again, I love the crank radios are great. And evacuate if you're in an evacuation zone. It's very important. What else? After the storm, stay informed, listen to the authorities. We talked about that already. It's very important. Make sure that you're aware of everything. So some of your immediate dangers, we talked about flooding. Many times we hear of people getting electrocuted, things like that. Another thing that we have heard and have seen actually is, I think it's coming up here. We talked about down power lines, hanging trees, debris falling from buildings. We were on another building in Marco Island right after Hurricane Irma. And the guy says, yeah, John, we just need to secure the roof. And as we're walking by the pool, there's literally, I could not believe they had this open. This was probably 3 days after Hurricane Irma. There's people in the pool. And I said, Mike, it's probably not a good idea. These people are in the pool. He's like, no, man, our residents, they're flipping out that they can't be here, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. There's literally glass falling on us from the sliders that were blown out. I'm like, Mike, you got glasses falling on us. We need to stop this whole area. So he listened to us, signed our contract with us, and we brought out, there's about 35, 40 guys out there. The next morning, we secured the whole area, boarded everything up. Took us about 3 days. Then we were able to secure the area to make it safe so that we could reopen the pool. Literally had, it was funny how many people actually volunteered for this, but we literally hired people to go into the pool. Because I don't know how they did it, but they went in and cleaned the pool and got all the glass out of the pool. But it was just insane. But there was so much glass. We hired all these canvassers to clean up the whole area so nobody got hurt. But then, are you ready for this? We had every single person sign a waiver before they went into the pool area that if they did get hurt, they understood that they were in an area that may cause injury due to the property was not completely refurbished from Hurricane Irma. So these are the things that we think about when we're on these properties after a disaster, right? Of course, we did have the condo association's attorney look at it and help them draft it up. But these are the kind of things that you want to be thinking about and that we were thinking about to help the client protect themselves after the storm. So very important on that kind of stuff there. Displaced wildlife. So this is where I was getting at. We had seen this where there was literally a water moccasin. Someone was walking through the flood, saw a water moccasin chasing somebody. It was scary. So just make sure You know, you have this wildlife that's out there. There's a lot of different things out there that you want to be careful of when a storm hits. You know, these people are displaced. People don't think about this stuff. You know, they're just out there wandering around thinking it's great to be out here. Look at all this stuff. But there's a lot of different things out there that can happen to you when a storm hits. Contact your contractor for full assessment and emergency repairs. Very important here. And this is where I usually get somebody upset, right? But I'm just going to say it. Every board has a contractor, a lawyer, an engineer, right? A roofer on their board, and they know how to do all the work. And their maintenance man knows how to do all the work. And that's great. And they probably do. However, if they're not trained on how to properly, temporarily repair any of these damages, they may cause a problem with their insurance claim and may actually cause the insurance claim to be denied if it is in fact an insurance claim, right? So what will happen is you want to make sure that you have someone that is trained, a licensed contractor. Need to probably put that in there. Contact your licensed contractor to come in that is trained on how to properly repair the damages, whether it's temporary or not. Temporary repair those damages and document it properly so that when the insurance company does come out, that they cannot deny your claim, or at least help you in case they do deny the claim, right? So it's very important that these steps are taken to help you in the future. And these are steps that are usually missed in the whole process here. So it's very important that you contact them. And if you're doing any repairs, please, please, please document, pictures. Everything should be listed as a temporary repair until further notice. I can't stress it enough. Until you have a licensed contractor come out there, it's not a repair, it's a temp repair. Have a licensed contractor, you know, similar or like R&R to come out there and do these things properly and do a full assessment. Find out what's really damaged out there. You might miss something and you might have further damage later on that you didn't know about. So it's very important. The other thing is notify local emergency management of damages. The reason you want to do that is that notifies FEMA to let them know what's going on as well. Most counties have apps that you can do this. This helps this helps your local municipalities get any type of federal or state help come to your area. So please notify local emergency management of any of the damage that are in your area. It's real simple. You just say, hey, I have damage here. They don't care. Sometimes they might come out, look at when I say they don't care. They don't care whether, you know, they don't come out to identify it, and they just want to make sure that they know that there's damage there so that they can notify the state, hey, we do have damage here. So, all right, here's some of the policy coverages that we talked about already that you want to talk about. Just make sure you have your other structures, law and ordinance, deductibles, exclusions, your funding. This is that one piece that I did not cover that I want to make sure we covered at the end here. Reserves, please make sure, if you can, I know it's tough, have your deductible in your reserves if possible. Find out what that deductible is. More and more companies, ourselves included, when we're out there working with the condo associations, one of the first things we're going to do is, okay, it's an insurance claim. You want us to help you with that process. That's great. We're going to expect the deductible to be paid. So make sure that you have your deductibles in your reserves. Make sure that you know your exclusions of the policies and have funding for those repairs. And then make sure you have a temporary repair fund. All right. Diane, do we have any questions? We have about 15 minutes left and I can't see the Zoom.
I am not seeing any questions. If anyone does have any, this would be a good time to throw that into the chat or simply unmute yourself and ask John why we have him present. I'm also putting into the chat just the directions to please email us with your CAM license number. We have it, but we just want to show that you were present today. And remember to write your name as it appears on your license. A lot of times we get people that send in and they're not the proper name on their license. We have to resubmit. So please help me with that.
And if you have any questions or you'd like a free property assessment, we do offer it to anyone on here today. You can reach out to Carolyn. Carolyn, if you want to wave, I know she's there with Eric. If you can, we'll be more than happy to come out. We'll do a free property assessment for you. And actually, we have an attorney that is working with us now that is offering a free insurance policy assessment. So if you have a policy that you would like to get reviewed at no charge, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that as well. So you can reach out to Carolyn at rrifl.com. She'll be more than happy to have someone come out and we'll do a free property assessment for you, and now a free policy review as well, and get that squared away. And that's anywhere in the state, even Naples, right, Diane?
Absolutely, Naples. Yes.
All
Okay,
right, we'll
everyone.
leave it
Well, we
open.
finished.
Any questions? No questions? That's perfect.
Yeah, we finished early. Thanks, everyone. Okay, if we don't, oh, we do have one message. Thanks so much. Thank you guys so
you.
much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. See you all soon.